next question will start with you, Mr. Davis. The United States is seeking opportunities to reduce dependence on foreign oil. Congress has made recent commitments to invest in new technologies to complement our existing oil and coal-based energy infrastructure. What are your views on energy policy, and how would you expand our domestic resources for oil and gas to enhance our nation's security?
This is something that I've been talking about since the beginning of the campaign. I believe strongly that we need to drill here and drill now in this country. It is so wrong that we are the world's #1 consumer of oil, and we don't allow, up until recently, don't allow offshore drilling. Over 85% of offshore areas have been forbidden since 1982. The best thing that Congress did on September 30th is to let that expire. But all the while, the past couple of years, while gas prices are going up, $4 a gallon, people are losing their jobs, the highest unemployment rate in 17 years, the highest inflation rate in 17 years, the highest unemployment rate recently at 6.1%. We've had one candidate that says we need to drill for oil and natural gas, which consumes 60%, over 60% of our energy in this country. And another candidate that has been an obstacle in voting 12 times against it. And I say, here's an article, it's in our Rochester Post Bulletin. Mr. Walz says no to expanded energy, opponent says yes. There's my picture. And this was in late June, and then at the end of July, what we had is a situation where Congress, in the midst of an energy crisis, voted 213 to 212. 213 to 212 to go on a recess and not solve our energy crisis. This led to our bailout problem, and here we are. I support an all of the above energy policy. In addition to more drilling, we do need to utilize our coal resources. We have more coal reserves than any other country in the world. Over the last 30 or 40 years, we have improved coal combustion much better than we have in the past. And I see the red light here, so I don't want to break the rules here.
Mr. Walz, a 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, well, first of all, and I do applaud Dr. Davis. He tells you not a career politician, but the talking points are right on message across there. This issue of the votes, all of you know how Congress works. There's the gotcha votes that are in there, but I'll tell you what, I did vote 12 times against that because I'm not going to give free big oil a free ride again. These pieces of legislation did nothing more than the continuous Bush policy that had increased drilling 341%. Why didn't oil go down there? There's possible that there's other factors at this, world consumption, other things that are going on, price manipulation in the futures market, other things are happening here. I have never said I wasn't for expensive drilling, and if we want to get the author of that article, Matt Stoley, is in the room, we may want to get those, well, how that transpired after that. I voted on a bipartisan energy bill that was put together in a room with 20 of us, 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans, who said enough of the partisan bickering. We created a piece of legislation that allowed for increased domestic production, allowed for clean coal production. As I said, Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia, a conservative Republican, authored that with me and wrote an editorial saying Tim Walz is dead on right about this. The key to this is not just drill here, drill now. It's drill here wisely, use those resources to transition to alternative and sustainable future that creates jobs in America, takes the magnet of war of the Middle East away, and moves us in a direction where we will not only be creating jobs, empowering our country, we will be protecting our environment. That's a real solution. That's not a slogan, and that's what I've stood for you.
A 30-second rebuttal.
In mid-July, there was a bill put forward called the Use It or Lose It, which said, you know, our oil companies have enough to drill on already. They don't need any more. It's 68 million acres. They're not drilling on something. What happens, they're not drilling on the area that there doesn't happen to be oil. And you know, after a few weeks of a nonpartisan organization checked into that, is that reasonable? Are the Democrats correct in stating that oil companies are leasing 68 million acres in the U.S. that they're not being used? The answer is not exactly. We need to get after the resources that we have. I support drilling in Anwar, where there's estimated to be 10 billion barrels of oil.
A rebuttal, Mr. Walz?
And that'll power us for about 7 months, and then it's gone, and then we have tomorrow. It's the tomorrow I'm concerned about. It's our children that I'm concerned about. It's where the next is on this. This issue of, again, use it or lose it, I'll take those leases. If they don't want them, I'll take the 68 million. There must have been a reason that they paid millions for them. And if they're simply not going to drill on them, then they will take away the thought that many of us are thinking, maybe they're just holding on to these not drilling until they can get oil prices up higher and increase the $44 billion in profits they made the first quarter. It's just a thought that many middle-class Americans trying to figure out how to live on a $30,000 teaching salary, $12,000 for insurance, and how they pay for gas. Those are the types of things that need to be brought forward in a national energy policy that moves us through sustainability.